Hello, West Alameda. It's after 6 o'clock. Time to give a shout out. Thank you to all the frontline, the essential workers, to the doctors, the nurses, the longshoremen, the bus drivers, the truck drivers, the farm workers, those who work in the stores, those who work in the restaurants, the hotels, postal employees, sanitation workers, counselors, teachers, parents. So please, if you hear my voice, would you clap your hands, honk your horns, shout, make some
Bahala Na
noise!
time to say thank you at 6:15 p.m.
Frontline workers, thank you! Hey, what's going on, Facebook? Hey, Ronald Price, what's up with you?
Whites can help us, but they can't join us. There can be no black-white unity until there is first some black unity.
So I hope everybody's having a good day. It's a beautiful day out here today. And yeah, it's really a nice day. So yeah, I'm gonna go on inside and do my shout out from inside. Oh, hello, Ronald Price. Hello, Paulette. Hey, Missy Owens. How you doing? I thank y'all for coming on here. I got the news on. Turn that off.
There is some positive news today. Cal Fire says better weather is now helping 400 firefighters build and reinforce containment lines and watch for spot fires.
Okay. So Dixie Fire is like 75% contained. Let me turn that off. And thank you guys. I appreciate y'all coming on here with me. Today is September the 13th, 2021. This is day 531. Day 531. I've been doing this yelling, shouting out for the frontline workers, frontline essential workers since April 1st, 2020. So this is day 531 of doing this. It's a lot of days. But anyway, as of today, according to the coronavirus pandemic live on YouTube, this is how many people have died on a global front. 4,656,118. Right here in the United States, 679,149. And in the Philippines, 35,307. So now you look over on in the black, this is what it was yesterday on September the 12th. And you can make the comparison to see the difference from how many people have died yesterday and what it is today. Just gives you an idea of, you know, what's going on. And then if you look over here in the green, on April the 9th, 2020, it was 96,000 throughout the world, 16,200 in the United States, and 203 in the Philippines. And this was back on April the 9th in the year 2020. So, prayers, thoughts, condolences, hugs and love, celebration of life. For Fred Trott, who was an ATU 192 member. Hey, Roshan, what's up? How you doing? 192 member out of Division 3. He worked from 1974 to 2008. So rest in peace to you, Fred. ATU 192. Thank you for, you know, being my fellow union member, brother. And birthday today is Kathy Dixon. Kathy and I are parishioners at St. Benedict's. So happy birthday to you. And this is Ebony, kind of nice Cooper. She is the mother of my granddaughter, Kehlani Dixon. So, hey, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to your daughter. Okay. And qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is just another word for police impunity. So I think that's something that we really need to work on. I'm asking everybody, contact your congressman, do all of that, and let's get that going. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to talk about this here, right here. The Negro Motorist Green Book. How many of y'all know about this? Come on now. You got to be real old to know about this. Actually, I didn't even really know about it until, I didn't really know about it myself. But this is a part of our history. And I think that it's something that we should most definitely talk about. So, this is it right here. The Negro Motorist Green Book. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it to you a little bit. He put this together back in 1930. Ooh, when the hell was this? 1936. It was established in 1936. So for y'all that don't know, the Negro Motorist Green Book. See, we take a lot of things for granted in this country. And definitely one of the things we take for granted is the fact that we can get in a car and just go. Just go wherever it is we want to go. And, but you have to realize that back in the day, we're talking 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and probably up into the 1960s, there were things called sundown towns. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sundown town is, a sundown town is exactly what that is, sundown. The so-called Negro, because this says the Negro. It didn't say African American, it didn't say black, it didn't say colored, it said Negro. The so-called Negro in a sundown town, that meant you had to make sure that you was nowhere in that town when the sun went down. And if you was, you had good reason to not be able to come out of there alive. And a lot of these was in the Confederacy, in the Confederate South. But there was also, in the North and Midwest, there was and a lot of places did not allow the so-called Negro to, it's like when we go somewhere, you can go to Motel 6, you can go Howard, you can go like any hotel, motel, wherever you want to go, and you can go stay there. As a black person, as a person of color, as a member of the so-called Negro race back in the 1930s all the way up to the 60s, you couldn't do that because they just didn't do it. So basically, this book would not only give you where you could go to get gas, where you could go to stay, sleep, where you can go get something to eat. See, it sounds funny now because we can go to McDonald's, Jack in the Box, any fast food place we want to. But back in those days, you couldn't. You couldn't do it. So let me just read this to you right here. Excuse my little glasses. So this says, so basically this book here, it was also had advertisement. Most gas stations did not want to give the so-called Negro gas. So the one gas station that they always not only would pump gas for Negroes, but also had black people owning the franchise was Esso, E-S-S-O. I don't know how many of y'all remember that gas station, Esso, but it was the one that they did allow blacks to not only get their gas pumped there, but also allow blacks to own the franchise of doing that. So this here would tell you. Okay, so let me see. Let me get and had little advertisements that told you what hotels you could stay in. And see, people just don't understand, especially the younger. Okay, me, I'm 73 years old, going to be 73 years old. Going through all this, you know, I don't. I do remember my mother telling me that in Georgia, that when she was with my father, that my mother told me that when she was with my father, that if she was driving, my father had to lay down in the back of the car under a blanket, because, you know, in Georgia, my mother, they looked at her as being white because she's light skinned. She's Filipino, like, you know, Filipinos come light skinned like that. And if my father was driving, my mother would have to sit in the back like she was like Miss Ann or something. And she told me that when they had to go get food, my mother could go in the front door to order food, but my father had to go to the back window or the back door to get the food, bring it out to the car, whatever. So it's weird because I don't know anything about that. I was born in 1948, but I do know something about that from my mother. But then when you think about it, some of the states did not have any place where you could even go. You know, like Arizona, they only had one restaurant that was listed in Nogales. That was called Bell's Cafe on Morley Avenue. And then Phoenix, they had hotels, they had tourist homes, they had garage, restaurants, service stations, beauty parlors, barbershops, and nightclubs. So this was things that they could do. And the guy that put this together was a mailman. And so a lot of times before they put the Negro Motorist Green Book together, you had to go everything by word of mouth, because you had to know what towns to not go through. And again, there was towns even in the North and in the Midwest that you would be considered a, you know, something like that. That's just, yeah. See, it's really hard. Hey, Joy. Hey, kumusta ka na, niece? What's up? Again, this is something that it's really hard to fathom because we've never had to experience this. The younger generation, they never had to depend on this. AAA would have these available. Esso gas stations would have these available. Cristobal, what's up, man? And but we take everything for granted. Everything is taken for granted. Let me put my glasses on, I'm sorry. Everything is taken for granted. You think about it. We get in the car and we go to Las Vegas. We get in the car, we go to Reno. We get in the car, we go to LA. We don't think about it. You pull up at a gas station, you get out and pump your own gas. Well, back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, they did not allow you to do that. And you most definitely could not be driving someplace and run out of gas in a sundown town. Okay? Because they were serious about that word sundown. You got to be out of town by sundown. And it's one of those things where they try to hide, sweep under the rug, neglect to inform, choose not to educate us about that stuff. And a lot of times this also has to do with our, you know, our people, the grandparents or whatever, not wanting to talk about it. Okay, so, hey, that's something that I wanted to share this with you, the little green, the Negro Motorist Green Book. And it would definitely have things of where you could go. I mean, can you imagine? You had to make sure that there was a place where you can go get your clothes cleaned, that there was a restaurant that served served the so-called Negro, you know? And if they didn't, then you had to go someplace else. I mean, Woolworths, what is that? They used to call it the 5 and 10, 5 and dime store. Woolworths, they had lunch counters, but they didn't serve blacks. So it's the things that we take for granted. A lot of it we take for granted is simply because nobody has told us anything different. Nobody wanted to relate to us what that was like. Even in my age of 73, I don't really know what it's like because I was raised out here in California. I was born in Georgia, but I really don't know nothing about Georgia. I was born on an Army base. But you think about it, I was born at Fort Benning, Georgia. Fort Benning was named after a Confederate general. And that's another thing. They just took down the statue of Robert E. Lee in Virginia. And I don't know what they're going to do with him. I could care less. But I mean, they always talk about what a great general he was and all this other kind of stuff. But this country is the only country I know that when you fought in a civil war and you lost the war, yet you get to have monuments and statues, and you even get to carry the flag of the losing side and put the flag of the losing side in state government buildings. Mississippi had Confederate flag for a long time, and quite a few other southern states had either the Confederate flag or what resembled a Confederate flag. So can you imagine after Hitler lost the war, World War II, can you imagine that they allowed Nazi flags to fly over Germany, or that they would build monuments to Hitler and Himmler and Göring and all the other Nazi generals? The only German general that I thought was actually pretty cool was Rommel, the one they call the Desert Fox. But he wasn't even a member of the Nazi Party. But even if he was a member of the Nazi Party, that was because Hitler wanted all his generals to do that. But hey, but the point I'm making is they don't glorify the losers. Nobody glorifies the losers. Only in this country do we glorify the losers, and only in this country are we revisionists. And by revisionists, we revise what history is all about. We make the Confederates look like they were fighting they was fighting against a war of aggression from the North. Okay? Hey, Sandra, what's up? But you got to remember now, the Confederates broke away from the Union. But Lincoln, he did not attack the Confederacy. The Confederates attacked Fort Sumter. They were the ones that opened up, shot artillery bombs at Fort Sumter, which was a Union fort, and the Union commander said, "No, I'm not going to give up Fort Sumter to Confederate forces, even though we're right here in South Carolina." South Carolina has succeeded from the North, and they wanted to take over the federal fort. The commander said, "No, this is federal property, and I'm not going to give it up." So that's when the war started. So how can you call it the War of Northern Aggression when the North was not the one that attacked the South first? So. And the whole reason why they even broke away was because they said that Lincoln was going to free all slaves. Lincoln didn't give a damn about slaves. I ain't going to tell you no lie. Yes, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, but he was also the one that said if he could keep the Union together by keeping all blacks as slaves, he would do it. And he said if he could keep the Union together by freeing some of the slaves and keeping some of the slaves as slaves, he would do that too. And he also said that if he could free all those slaves, if that would keep the Union together, he would do it. So basically, when Lincoln did his thing, the Emancipation Proclamation, I think a lot of people tend to forget this, is the Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in the Confederacy. Only slaves that were in Confederate states, those states that were in an active rebellion against